There may come a day where we're not streaming a SIG topic, but that day, my friends, that day is not today. How is everybody's night going tonight? Hope you're all doing well. We do, of course, have a slight curious update to a SIG story, probably the most serious SIG story, just because of the nature of what's involved with it, with the death of an airman and some of the stuff that may or may not have happened there. Because I think that story continually gets more and more strange as time goes on. And as Mariner says, yeah, my ball's still nervous, even with this development. It should be. And we'll talk about it. But yes, one justification on one issue is not justification on every other issue, right? So, but we don't even know what really happened with this yet. But a lot of sycophants, is that the proper term? A lot of sycophants are quickly shoveling as much sig dick down their throats as they can. But we'll talk about it. Maybe it's not the win that they think it is. Maybe it's a nothing burger. Maybe it's just more obfuscation of the real issues at hand. Like the fact that Zephon for 2 says that John unironically shops at Hot Topic. How dare you? How dare you, sir? I think this is going to be mostly a solo stream. And yes, we are 1 hour early because I thought for Friday nights, if theoretically I can be out of here a little bit earlier, you guys can enjoy your evening. I can maybe go spend some time with my kids. You know, not that you guys aren't great, but, you know, I should spend some time with my family at least, right? But how about for a disappointing topic or a depressing topic to start, shall we? This is an article from guns.com. Excuse me. Gun sales fall under 1 million per month for the first time in 6 years. So since late 2019, which of course was shaping up to be an election year. And then you had 2020, 2021, 22, so on and so forth, which were record years for a variety of reasons. COVID, pandemics, civil unrest during that time as well. So we had back to back record breaking years and months, so on and so forth. But we are, as Hot put out a video yesterday, I want to say, that is essentially the second Trump slump, which happened the first time around. People get very complacent. We're in a very saturated market, and we're seeing a very similar thing happen once again. And I don't know if it's really a bad thing, other than the fact that we are seeing more companies exit the market, which is a little unfortunate. But we're also seeing companies that primarily focus on budget ARs exit the market. And the elephant in the room, or the retarded elephant in the room, is that Palmetto State Armory is eating up all of those sales. So if you can't differentiate yourself to get into the high end, to the mid end, or into other fields like Anderson or Delton, well, you're kind of just SOL. So figures for the likely firearm sales in the country last month dropped below a benchmark that has held since 2019. Some 2 million federal background checks were processed through the Federal Bureau of Investigation's NICS background check system in July 2025. 2 million is still a lot though, right, guys? Because that's not even individual guns. There can be multiple guns on a single NICS check. So we're talking somewhere in the nature of 2 to 2.25 million guns or NICS checks for different items. So, I mean, that's a substantial amount per month and would dwarf most countries around the world. But for America over the last 6 years, it is a bit of a low point. That figure reflects a 4.2% decrease from the FBI NICS figure of just over 2 million in July 2024. When the National Shooting Sports Foundation adjusted the numbers for last month to remove gun permit checks and rechecks, the adjusted figure stands at, oh, really? So gun permit checks and rechecks, that accounts for 50% of NICS checks? Really? stands at just under 1,978,731. Still a lot of NICS checks. So we're still talking about 1 to 1.1 million guns, depending on how much guns were on each check. This is a steeper drop of about 8.1% compared to the July 2024 of 1.06. So it does seem like we're having some inflation everywhere else, but a little bit of contraction in the gun market, which is going to be very hard in an industry that is plagued by low margin products. Now, they're low margin products because everybody's making them. Quite literally, everybody has a generic AR brand or whatever it might be. At the high end, you're probably seeing less of an impact because you get more separation between like BCM, Geisley, Daniel Defense, Knights. And also at the higher end, you also tend to have more military contracts to fall back upon. Whereas again, on the low end, I don't know how many LE contracts Anderson has, right? Even with their frontline series, which they were trying to attract some mid-range buyers, higher end buyers, if you want to call it that. But yeah, those low end brands don't have the ability to do so. All right. Firearm manufacturers continue to produce high quality, safe, and reliable firearms. Well, not all of them. To meet the demand of discerning customers across the nation, he said. Now, as far as me, I have not bought very many firearms this year at all. I think I bought a 320 for memes. I bought the Rival S for competition this year. And that might be it as far as what I've actually bought. Yeah, no, we'll be talking about Shoot Well and Often says civilian orders of the Glock COA canceled. Yes, we will 1000% be talking about that. Now, Tim Money says, what about the High Point duty rifle? Well, see, High Point's interesting because they're branching out from pistols and carbines to AR-15s rather than the reverse, right? A lot of these companies are AR-15 manufacturers that try to do pistols or whatever it might be. Like Anderson had the Krieger. I think they had that, and that was their Glock 19 clone type thing. But then again, they're branching out into the other most contested, most saturated market out there, right? So they went from, hey, AR-15s aren't selling so hot. Let's get into the most contested market and try and carve out some share. And it didn't quite work out, right? Oh yeah, speaking of that, where did I just put that patch? I have semi-auto says Sig's next special edition, the Doll Squad inside the waistband transition tool, the P320 with pink and black color scheme. Yes, Bucky, glow so bright. I think he's almost stateside. He's almost back after his time abroad, but he sent me a official reproduction Doll Squad patch, which I find very funny. One of the suggestions was to make a blackboard on the back or a patch board on the back wall back there where there's that big empty space and start putting the patches of the individuals or organizations that we've taken the W over, and maybe the Doll Squad, since they're a transgender unit who unalived their social media presence. I think that might be a fitting first addition to that wall, if that makes sense. Yeah, High Point carbines in quotation marks for sure. I think it's, and to be fair, somehow it's taken Sig like 9 months, a year to actually enter the market. I don't even know if their stuff is available yet. But people keep talking about the High Point HP 15 carbines and 300 blackout and rifles and pistols, whatever they are. But I have yet to actually see one. So for some reason, it's taken them a long time to develop a highly technical, sophisticated, advanced generic AR-15. But we'll see. Let's see. Joe Faux Show for 5 says fashionably late as usual. Yeah, but I mean, technically, I started an hour early, so you guys can't be too upset, right? I mean, I'm like 57 minutes early or 55 minutes early. Thank you for that, Jojo. Huge Ass for 10 says, insert meme, I don't care who wins, I just want Sig to lose. Siggers, keep walking. This is literally anyone but you neighborhood. Very true. Thank you for that, Mr. Huge Ass. Oh, why don't I have that pulled up yet? I hate how it resets this every time.
What's up, my Siggers?
There we go. Thank you, Huge Ass. Appreciate it, man. Central Sans Defense for 2. Hope you're doing well tonight, sir. Says a focus strip live stream at work. A perfect Friday night. Indeed. Thank you, sir. Focus Strip's wife, who is somehow texting from the basement, says, hey, someone say Kyle while spinning in a circle in front of a mirror. Yeah, no Kyle. I haven't seen Kyle in the chat yet. I mean, listen, if Sig's greatest defender wants to come on and talk this their biggest win to date, I think they're going to consider this to be their biggest win to date. I think this is the prime opportunity for you to do so. Thank you, Anna. Zephan for 2 says, John, oh yeah, we already looked at that. Unbelievable, untrue, unfounded allegations. That is SIGA propaganda. Art Vandalay for 2 says, Airman was arrested. Kyle is missing. Coincidence? That's a good point. Thank you, Vandalay. I will keep that in mind. Huge Ass for 5 says, I've spent too much in super chats to pump those sales up. My bad. Yeah, don't, honestly, who needs it more, right? Struggling gun companies who employ people, or John, who sits here to bring you the news 3 times a week. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ass. Ike Watts for 10 says, thank you for bringing back the sea shanties. Is there any chance you can make another channel or post the music on your channel so that we can listen to it? Yeah, I've always given out the link to people who wanted it, just to make sure that they can have that if they really want it. Because I mean, they're just machine remixes essentially of whatever it is. So I can totally post those for you. And thank you very much for the $10, Mr. Watts. Europa Chronicles on Rumble for $10 says, I still don't understand why the Air Force Global Strike Command required inspections of thousands of M18s if Airman Levin wasn't shot with his gun. Guns are checked out of the armory by serial number, so they've known from day one whose gun went off. I 100% agree with that. And we're going to get into why that's actually a great counterpoint to the Sigger victory that they think this might be. I don't think it's that simple yet, but we shall see. Art Vandalay for 5 says, if you're not stacking bullets during the slump, you're regarded and are probably the type that doesn't dry fire. Yes, you should be dry firing right now, for sure. That's what you should be doing right now, unless you're driving or something else. Then I would recommend you don't dry fire and drive at the same time, though, maybe you're getting your Chicago practice in, right, for your weekly drive-by or whatever it might be. But buying ammo, now that is true, though. While I have not bought very many optics or guns this year, I have bought the most ammo I've ever bought this year. And I think that's a good thing for shooting, right? For your shooting skill. It is not a good thing for the industry that depends on infinite expansion of sales, right? But thank you for that, Mr. Vandalay for 5. Strapped LB Style for 5 says, hashtag Siggers, hashtag M18, hashtag put trigger blade safety on LEO P320. Hashtag fire Ron Cohen. Very true. Based and true. Thank you very much for the 5, Mr. LB Style. Josh for 5 says, you, me, can of Ultra Blue Hawaiian Monster, 3 left foot size 12 Air Force Ones. I don't get the reference. I'm drinking this is a white haze, which is also analogous to my life in general. A little bit of a white haze. But thank you very much for that, Josh. Touch the Third for 2 says, whose cello is that? How about a live tune? Well, that is my wife's cello. She plays the cello every night when I drop it down to her in the basement. So if we could get this setup working down in the basement, I could perhaps give you a little listen, but probably not tonight. Maybe at some point, though. You never know. Strapped again for 2 says, hashtag Sigger hate only. Hashtag okay laters. All right, have a good night, man. Appreciate you. Todd and Dogs for 2 says, show the pic of the... No, no, Todd and Dogs. I can't show that one. Ugh, nobody wants to see that. Every single person in the stream would leave if I did that. But thank you, Todd and Dogs, for the 2. Mitzvah TV for 2 says, before we start, does your Equinox rattle on startup? My Equinox makes some noise in different places. It has like the turning, grinding at low speed with the all-wheel drive system. So there's there's some issues with it. I'm not a Equinox defender. I'm an Equinox owner. Okay. Chud McGill for 5 says DEI hire pavement apes. Called out, so I have an 18-hour shift for today. Third time in the last 30 days, by the way. Glad I have a stream to watch. Also, Kyle is gay. And Kyle isn't here yet. I haven't seen him yet. So whenever he gets here, we can. But yeah, the Napas are out and about and causing you to do an 18-hour shift. That sounds miserable, but I hope you get. Yes, 2 cellos is also excellent. They broke up recently. Sad. Now they're just cello. But yeah, North American pavement apes out everywhere. 30 hours or 18 hours of overtime. I hope that you are getting a lot of that tax exempt, good sir, because that's a lot of overtime and hopefully a lot of money for you. All right, so Mr. Gaston Glock from the grave has been doing the best marketing of all time, which is just allowing Sig to be Sig, to put their foot in their mouth at every conceivable opportunity if it has not already been shot or ND'd upon, depending on your point of view. But this is a story coming out of a couple different places. So we have the Glock store, breaking news. We have received news. You didn't need to say it twice. That all Glock COA models, which of course is the handgun plus optic, the aim point COA or COA, integrated together for a pretty decent price. Especially the blue label on these things is like $600 for a brand new Gen 5 Glock with a COA. Pretty darn good price, right? So they have been canceled for the civilian market indefinitely to fill military orders. We don't know if this means the U.S. military or elsewhere, but have heard rumors that this could be related to the M17/P320. So are all of these COAs going to be shipping out for a new contract? Is something stirring in the winds, methinks? We expect the limited remaining supply to go very quickly and that no new COA models will hit the market anytime soon. That, my friends, is wild if true. And of course, this happens during the midst of all of these different agencies dropping the P320. The U.S. Marshals have banned the P320 from use. That was a very recent development. Houston PD banned the P320 for use. They gave their officers, I think, 2 months to swap over to something else. And many such cases. They're currently on hold with the Global Strike Command of the Air Force, as those are still under investigation, which we'll talk about shortly. But allegedly, Glock is prepping for some big military order somewhere and preemptively, apparently, dropping all civilian sales of the COA. And now that's not just the Glock store, but GT Distributors had essentially the exact same post. Due to recent events in federal law and enforcement contracts, federal and law enforcement contracts, Glock is shifting its focus to fulfilling law enforcement agency contracts through law enforcement distribution. Currently, we will no longer be accepting any new blue label, IOP, or commercial orders. We are working directly with Glock to determine if and when previously placed IOP orders in-house will be fulfilled. At present, we do not have any info regarding ETA or lead times for those orders, and we do not expect to see any in 2025. It's August 8th, and they don't expect any more for the rest of the year. We will be refunding any payments already received. So this is a big distributor saying, hey, guess what? We're going to pay you guys back. We're just giving you your money back. You're never getting your products. Good luck. Try and find one somewhere else. And I can assure you right now, if you go to Gunbroker, what was $1,000, what was $1,100, that's going to go up pretty darn fast. So if you're a COA investor, a COA early adopter, that is heading to the moon, and it is time to pump those numbers up. If you leave your order open, we will contact you when they come in. All commercial market COA model orders will be canceled and refunded. So if you're just a civilian trying to get your gun, no thank you. Non-COA guns are not impacted by this, meaning it's just the COA model. So specifically, whatever law enforcement, federal, military contract that Glock is chasing here, whether inside the U.S. or outside the U.S., it's all COA models. Somebody's making a really big order of COA models, if they're saying preemptively, you American civilian who buys, however many hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of these things, you don't get any. We need them all for somebody else. We are accepting new agency orders only at this time. Currently, Glock is quoting an average lead time of 180 days or 6 months, and we do not have any further information to clarify ETA or lead times. So even if you're a big agency, you're looking at 6 months. Sorry, SIG months. Freudian slip there. Because, of course, if you are looking to switch to the COA, you're probably replacing a P320. If you wanted to do that, well, you're kind of SOL for 6 months. Yeah. Yeah, rest in peace. Next year you can get it. Let's see. Huge Ass for 5 says, ever seen what the Talmud says about Jesus? Yes, he is, according to the Talmud, which is rabbinical scholars debating each other mostly, but it is still a, because of the way that it's written, it is a, how do I say this, an authoritative text for Judaism. Says that Jesus is boiling in a lake of excrement, essentially. Can we do something like that for Ron Cohen instead? Well, no, we need to pray for redemption of all people. But he does seem to be particularly problematic. Mitzvah TV for 2 says, I ask because if it does, you need timing chains. I mean, I might look into that. I don't think it makes a rattle when starting up, though. Thank you for that info. Mitzvah for 2 says, or it'll grenade your engine, which is not good. That is not good. Yes, I will try to keep that in mind for my Equinox. If it starts to make a rattling noise, I will check that because I don't want it to blow up. Slap for 5 says, buy yourself a low carb monster to really sell the emo theme you got going on. Yeah, I'm going to start, like dyeing my hair or doing something funky and going with the low carb monsters. I remember when I was working at a grocery store when I was 16 years old, drinking the low carb monsters, the blue ones, on break. Simpler times, my friend. Thank you, Slap, for the 5. Mitzvah for 2 says, as a resident of Texan, please pronounce it Houston. Houston? Okay, Houston, Texas. Sorry. Thank you, Mitzvah. Chud for 2 says, no, I wanted a 19 COA. This is all Kyle's fault. It is all Kyle. And if any of you see Kyle in the comments, be sure to let him know. Okay? Thank you, Chud. Art Vandalay for 2 says, they heard COA stood for Can't Off Airmen. Yikes. Central Saints Defense for 5 says, COA doesn't make sense when the acro footprint exists. We tested and evaluated the COA and we're not impressed. Listen, I talked to Shane Mosley about the COA, which is the Glock sponsored shooter, one of their top shooters, one of their top guys. And it was fine. It seemed nice, but I wouldn't personally jump at it. I know some people are more enthused than I am, but it seems fine. It seems fine. But I also like the idea of swapping out to different optics, but that's just me personally. And I'm also a degenerate reviewer. So if I ever bought a COA, that's literally all I could ever use the gun for, right? You can talk about the gun and the optic, and then you're done with it. You can never swap on another optic at some point in the future to review something newer and cooler, But that's degenerate YouTuber type stuff. Thank you for that, Central Sands Defense. And Helix, member for 3 months. Thank you very much. There says, FML... Sorry to hear it, sir. Just sold a COA 19. Well, you ain't getting that guy back. I hope you got money for it, sir. Hey, okay. Oh, damn it. Jeremy says, I see Kyle. He's raising his hand to let me know. I greatly appreciate that, sir. Thank you. Don't say it too many times, though. After that, they start to notice. All right. But there is a video from the Glock store who Johnny Glocks is going to walk us through the breaking news. This actually went live just before I did. So I saw this and was like, okay, perfect. Well, I'm sure he will inform us of all of the good things that we need to know.
Shop right here in the amazing Nashville studios today. And, I've got some breaking news, some amazing news, some shocking news, to be quite honest. Glock has just told our distributors, literally just this morning, that they're not shipping any more COA guns. Boom. The COA is so popular with military and law enforcement that Glock is focusing on the military orders only, and they will not be shipping any COA guns into the civilian marketplace, into our distributors, which means that we won't have them. But the question
You guys being mean to Lenny. Lenny looks good. He's got muscles. He's got biceps. He's got veins. This man's like in his 70s and he's hanging on to his hair. And you guys are being mean to him. What the heck? Unbelievable. Listen, this is like if you partied a little too hard in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and this is your end stage of life, you're looking pretty damn good. That's all I'm saying. I think he's looking good, guys. Come on. If I have biceps at 70, I think I'm going to be a happy person.
It is who is eating up all these things. And it's a really good thing to think about when you think about the military. Is it overseas or is it here in the USA? Because we all know that Sig won the contract for the U.S. military, but Sig has had some issues.
Gosh, dang it. Stop hurting me like that. Unbelievable. You know, I've been bald before, and I'll do it again just to spite you, Kite.
Issues.
Oh, shoot. I didn't realize he was going to be handling it on screen. Actually, I didn't notice. He's handling it right there. I actually shouldn't be showing that. That's the question. Is it going to get the stream taken down? Don't do that. Don't do that. Now I'm scared.
So I bet you that something's going on here with this COA, the demand for the COA into that military market. Not only here in the States, but probably worldwide as well. Other news. Again, kind of just happened in this week. This was today, this morning. So
stop picking it up. Lenny, put it down. Lenny, no.
We wanted to break it for you. But the tariffs that we've got in place here across the world that Trump has done. In Europe, the EU, the entire EU, has a 50% tariff, and Glock parts and pieces are going to have a price increase. It's that simple. The parts and pieces are basically across the board because most of this stuff is made in Europe. That said, you know, we here at the Glock store have a good inventory of pre-tariff items. You know, we're here at the Glock store to give you the best news, to give you the most important news, give you the latest news on what's happening with Glock, because things are happening all the time. There's new parts, there's new pieces, and now the COA concept, and now the tariff concept, it doesn't end. But we're here to support you and to help you make your Glock better and to make you a better shooter. And
I'm not going to lie. I bought parts from the Glock store before. I've had good luck with them. Come on. Oh, Tusk, I just read your super chat and I wish I didn't. Damn. But no, speaking of tariffs, there was a new tariff on Brazil, I want to say. 50% on Brazil right now, which means something like, you know, Tauruses are going to start outpacing Glocks in terms of price if things hold out that way, of course. But more importantly, some of you guys love MagTech. And MagTech, I mean, has some pretty decent ammo options. And if that goes up 50%, I think that does hurt our consumer purchasing power of ammunition right now. So I think you're going to see 9mm go from like 20 cents, which is, it's awesome that in some places 9mm currently is under 20 cents a round. Pretty cool, right? But obviously MagTech is not going to be able to do that if there's a 50% tariff on their stuff. Yeah. MagTech. And I don't know if we have any Taurus enjoyers in the chat. I'm not a Taurus hater. I've shot the G2C, the G3C, the G4X4. Is that what it was called? The only one that I actually want to try is the Taurus, the TX22. Is that the one? Double stack 22. I think that might be interesting for a cheap 22 Plinkster. But maybe not so cheap anymore. Many of them are moving production to the U.S. in general, which I think is a good thing. Maybe that was part of the plan all along with tariffs. You never know. I think that's part of the idea behind them, at least. Jake says that he loves the TX22, which now makes me question my life choices. TX22 is goated. Okay. TX22 is legit. All right. Kieran Cox, great name, says, I only like the Taurus Curve. No. Rejected. Anime PFP profile detected. Opinion rejected. Unbelievable. Yeah. I might try that. All right, let me see here. Well, before we get to this, the main story of the evening, Noob Actual for 5 says, is the primary arms 5X Prism viable as a duty optic as long as I get a different mount? I mean, what do you mean by duty optic? Do you mean like you're going to go to war with it like tomorrow? Because listen, the things that make it into a war zone should terrify you. So, I mean, honestly, I think it's fine. It's probably better than most cheap red dots and most cheap LPVOs out there. And it's a 5X prism that's not terrible. So as far as like, is it ACOG durable? Probably not, but it's still going to be more durable than a similarly priced LPVO. So if you want that magnification, you got X budget, it's a decent option. How about that? Thank you for that, Noob Actual. Moonman is here. After his workings on a Wyoming airbase. For 5 says, I don't even know what a COA is, but so long as it hurts SIG. Well, again, allegedly, for some military contracts, federal contracts, law enforcement contracts. So we will see if it is actually indeed going to be replacing the M17, M18. Andy Cody with a very similar sentiment for 2 says, I don't care who wins anymore. I just want SIG to lose. Man, you guys are the opposite of SIG fans. You guys are straight up SIG haters, certified SIG haters, which I understand.
What's up, my Siggers?
Thank you for that, Indy Cody. Tuss the third for 2 says, Lenny and Garantham spit roast bookends with eye contact. The eye contact is what makes it gay. Okay. Very gay. Sus behavior, some would say. Thank you for that, Tusk. And JL Gonis becomes a new member. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, good sir. Chud McGill for 2 says, should I buy another 1,000 rounds of MagTech 9mm? I don't know why you would buy MagTech over something like Federal Champion, the red box stuff. I've had great luck with that stuff, and that's what I've been using for almost all of my training and practice with right now, and it's about the same price, like 19 cents around, somewhere in that range. Yeah, so that's what I'm going with right now. But, I mean, MagTech's not a bad option. If you like hotter ammo, it's generally on the hotter side of things. Me, as a gamer fan, hotter ammo isn't always better. But thank you for that, Chud. And Moonman again for 5 says, we know why an anime Abby likes the curve, and Moko must be close. Well, I started an hour early, so I'm excited to see some new faces here. Thank you for that, Mr. Moonman. Appreciate you. Hoping you're having a good night at work. Yeah, MagTech 10mm is the best cheap 10mm. Well, it may not be so cheap for so long. But okay, let's get into the main story here. So Air Force makes arrest in airman's shooting death involving the M18 pistol by Stephen Lucy, August 8th, 227. So about 5 hours ago at this point. Now, I did post I posted a screenshot of this to Instagram, and people were going wild. Just absolutely wild in that. Like the SIG defenders like came out of the woodworks, like mouth agape, just like, see, look, see, look, this one thing, this is what I'm going to hold to for all of eternity to prove my point. Fair enough. I mean, if that's what's happening here, but we shall see. The Air Force has arrested an airman in connection with the July 20th death of another airman, which involved a Sig Sauer M18 airman, allied U.S. Air Force. All right. The Air Force has arrested an airman in connection with the July 20th death of another airman, which involved a Sig Sauer M18, and led the service to suspend the use of the pistol following the incident. Now, keep in mind that after this happened, initially the story was that either the gun was set on a desk and it went off on its own, killing someone. And then the second version of that story is that it was set down on a desk, pointing in the wrong direction, and then somebody had gotten up to use the bathroom, came back, and as he was coming back, it shot him in the chest and killed him. There was a third version of events that essentially there might have been some horseplay involved in the situation, right? Where maybe they were wrestling, or maybe there was like kind of a gamesmanship, or like some joking or joshing or rough play, whatever it might have been. And then the pistol went off. So there's been kind of these variations of the story, but no one and nothing is alleging a murder, like straight up somebody takes the gun out and shoots the other person, which we'll get into. So in a Friday statement, a Department of the Air Force spokesperson said that the unidentified arrested person is accused of making a false official statement, so lying about what happened, obstruction of justice, which I think obstruction of justice is quite literally anything. Because like if you lie, you're obstructing justice, or maybe if you tried to move evidence or try to get other people to change their story, that could also be obstruction of justice. So those two things, false official statement and obstruction of justice, are essentially the same thing. And very importantly, involuntary manslaughter. So not murder, not manslaughter, but involuntary manslaughter. So this leaves a lot of things up in the air. So if I were a SIG defender, I wouldn't necessarily attach my reputation to a involuntary manslaughter, because that's strange to me. So again, an airman has been, or air person, that's funny. Air person is actually the correct 2025 term. The airman has been arrested for, again, making a false official statement, obstruction of justice, and involuntary manslaughter. So he is accused of being essentially involuntarily responsible for the death of the other airman. What that means, I have absolutely no idea. No idea. And I don't really want to pretend like I do know what that means. But it means that in some way he was responsible for the other airman's death. Now, does that mean that he was the one who put the gun down and it went off killing the other person, so he is directly responsible for that? Does it mean that there was some horseplay involved and the gun accidentally went off and killed the other person, and he's, again, still responsible for that, but not murder, right? Because he didn't go out of his way to intentionally do it. So it's involuntary manslaughter. Not really sure. A lot of speculation can be thrown onto that statement. So again, if you are a SIG defender, you can attach your entire reputation to that statement, but I wouldn't necessarily want to do so. And I also want to be clear, even if SIG is 1,000,000,000% vindicated in this specific instance, right, and they are cleared of this instance, it does not go back and clear them of every other prior instance, right? If they're vindicated in one instance, it doesn't magically go back throughout the years and undo every other issue that they've allegedly have had over the last decade. Even if they are completely 1,000% vindicated in this specific instance. Air Force Global Strike Command pulled the M18 for use after Braden Levin, a 21-year-old remote targeting engagement system operator in the 90th Security Forces Group at FU Warren Air Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming, was fatally shot with a pistol. Now, to be clear, somebody asked this earlier in chat, and I did see you, but they're still going through with the investigation on all of their M18s, and they are still not being used. They are still not in service currently, and they're using either M9s or M4s. So the M18 is still not in service with the Global Strike Command, and they are still using their other weapons that they have access to. And there are thousands of them, which are all going in for individual inspections, which that right there was the impetus for a lot of people to jump on it on, let's say, my side. I'll take that side of the argument, the anti-SIG side, to say that, well, look, it was the gun's fault, right? Because why would they do these investigations without some reason to believe that the SIG caused the airman's death, right? If somebody did just straight up murder somebody, if I pull out my gun and shoot you in the chest, right? Nobody is like, hey, let's investigate the gun to make sure that the gun didn't accidentally go off, if it's a straight up murder, right? So that is the impetus or the ammunition on our side of the argument, is that there must have been some reason for the entire Global Strike Command to discontinue use of the M18 if they thought it was simply two airmen being retards. Now, that being said, it's possible like a general somewhere along the line got a little bit too ahead of himself and decided to can the M18 for the time being, just because, and he was too, what's the right word for it, too impatient, right? And so to immediately discontinue the use, which made it point to the M18 rather than some other issue with, again, two gentlemen being unfortunately tarded and unfortunately resulting in one of their loss of life. The Service Offices of Special Investigations is still investigating Levin's death. As with all individuals accused of a crime, the person arrested in this case is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. No further details about the circumstances surrounding Levin's death or the arrest were available. The M18, along with the M17, is a derivative of Sig Sauer's P320 that the Air Force and Army have used. However, the P320 has faced allegations that it is prone to going off accidentally without the trigger being pulled. Sig Sauer has strongly denied those allegations and said its pistols do not discharge unless the trigger is moved to the rear. I think that is their most up-to-date language, if I remember correctly. All right. Now we have basically the exact same story as well from Soldier Systems. But essentially, the one point on here that I do want to talk about is that so they do have to. Air Force Global Strike Command has stated that they have not completed inspections of their M18 fleet yet. We are not particularly surprised, considering it took the command 22 months to release a report of the Humvee rollover in 2023, which resulted in a fatality. They seem to lack a sense of urgency. We hope that doesn't extend to the use of their portions of the nuclear triad in the event they are ever called upon, which is quite funny. So, 22 months to release a report on the Humvee rollover in 23. How long is it going to take the Air Force to go through and inspect thousands of M18s and compile a comprehensive report? It could be a year before we have a report on the actual M18 itself, or even longer, possibly, right? Theoretically, it could be insanely long. But we don't know at this point. Now, hopefully, there'll at least be some official story from the Air Force on the airman incident itself. So if it comes out in the next couple weeks that, well, actually, they were joking around and one of them pointed the gun at the other, not thinking it would go off, and then there was some sort of horseplay involved or whatever it might be, right? So an unintentional murder, involuntary manslaughter, whatever it might be. But we just don't know yet. So while this is definitely not it doesn't seem as catastrophic to SIG as it did before, it still very well could be if the gun was not removed from its holster or the gun was found to be faulty in some way. Right? Like, let's say, like, this is just a pure hypothetical circumstance, but let's just say that the guy had the safety on, right, and was pointing it at somebody else, pulled the trigger and it went off, right? The safety was ineffective or whatever it might be, right? So it's very possible that there's a combination of things here. Now, I'm not saying anything one way or the other on it. It's a tragic loss of life either way, whether it's the pistol's fault or whether it's human incompetence. But yeah, at this point, we just don't know. Toss the third for 2 says, more than a fart, but less than a shart. Thoughts? Still got to change your underwear. That's my stance on that. Still got to change your underwear. Thank you, Mr. Tusk. Moonman for 10 says, snaps fingers, Emoko. Time to post a paragraph about one of your weird dreams and also explain to the chat that there is, in fact, a Taurus curve-based anime girl. I don't know about the Taurus curve, ma'am. I don't know if that's a hill you want to die on, so to speak. Thank you for the $10, Mr. Moonman. Noob Actual for 2 says, thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, sir. Hope you're having a good night. And Chud McGill for 2 says, Magtex 9mm, 1,000 rounds is 20 cents per round with free shipping. Well, that's pretty damn good. That is pretty damn good. So let's go ahead and I want to kind of hear what you guys have to think about this. This is some Independent Arms says, this some bullshit. True. Did you know if I Icon Tactical says 2 airmen playing with the firearm. One shot the other accidentally. The dude lied and said he witnessed the P320 fire itself at the dead airman at the end. Now, again, that is a manufacture purely of your own mind. You have created that scenario, and that is a possible scenario. I'm not doubting that. But if you're saying that's what happened, I mean, again, that's just as much speculation as an alien beamed the P320 bullet directly into the other man's brain. White Wall says, to play devil's advocate, isn't it a little ironic to say don't attach yourself to an incomplete story after doing exactly that with the initial story, which now seems false. I think you mean false. That is a great PFP, by the way. I would have to go back and check my coverage of exactly what I said. But if I ever said this is exactly what happened, or do I say, well, this is what it looks like, guys, and it looks pretty bad for Sig, because that is what it looked like, right? And keep in mind that the process of time and additional information comes out, you should change your opinion as more information comes out, right? That's just how life works, bro. Well, right. So OSI is still investigating. That's the thing, and the investigation is ongoing. It just seems more complicated now, right? Because if we were to believe the initial story, right, which I think a lot of people did, they didn't have any information to the contrary. But now that we have some information to the contrary, now it's more complicated, right? As things always tend to be. OSI is still investigating the Sigcident, but that won't stop Siggers from assuming that the M18 was not in any way to blame. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't, as much as the original post did not conclusively blame the Sig, this does not conclusively exonerate the Sig either. Right. And also, to be completely clear, yeah, to Icon's point here, this one, even if you take it, no, Sig did nothing wrong. This M18 itself was perfect. If you look back at all the other, it doesn't exonerate all the other prior incidents, issues, whatever it might be, right? Lost court cases, all that sort of stuff. Well, yeah, never ask a Sig defender what gun they carry, because it's never a P320. Never. Dom G says no charges have been filed at this time for that airman. Well, they arrested somebody. So can they actually arrest somebody without filing charges, or how does that work? Is he just in holding for the moment? They're turning the frickin' Sigs Indian. Very true. Let me see. What else? Do we have a Sig? We have a couple. I wouldn't say, I'm not going to characterize guys in the chat as Sig defenders, but they're taking, well, how do I want to say it? Because I want to be fair to people. They're more skeptical to blame Sig. They're much slower to blame Sig, which I think is very fair, right? You don't have to be the Sig hater, but as long as you're not just a total copium addict, I think that's fair. No, I appreciate it. You're good, White Wall. Let's see. Yeah, all of the this has been all of the Sig defenders on Instagram and other places of late. Many such cases. Do we have any Kyles? Yeah, any Kyles? Yeah, many people are just in it for the truth, so they're a little slower to jump to any conclusions. And I am fine with jumping to conclusions based off of the evidence that we currently have. But when new evidence comes out, you just simply, attune yourself to the new evidence that's out. That's all, right? And also, I don't know if you need to take everything insanely seriously. Obviously, Sig and the investigation should, because somebody is now dead. But that is their responsibility. Okay, let's pull this up. Let's talk about this. All right, so this is the little post that I made on Instagram today. Let me refresh this, just so it has the most up-to-date comments on it. So I posted just a literal screenshot of this. People were not so happy that I did that, I suppose, even though I just wanted to provide the updated information, context for it. As the plot thickens, indeed, we heard this was coming, Mr. Ben Steger. The Maroon Gun Meme says, awesome, they finally arrested Ron Cohen. No, they didn't. Unfortunately, no. They arrested the airman in regards to it. All of you that jump to conclusions are in deep shit. Well, so this is the thing. I'm very curious about Mr. Braden McHenry here. This basketball American, it looks like. He says that everybody who accused Sig of doing anything ever are in deep shit. But I mean, listen, we have jury trial verdicts to back us up. You have like your emotions and feelings and stuff. Good luck with that. Jump to what conclusions? Of course, Pro Traband jumping in here, Says, I think you should reread the article. Involuntary is an unintentional killing of someone. Lines up perfectly with someone setting a holstered gun on a desk pointed away from them. If he aimed at him and pulled the trigger, I believe the charge would be murder. By the way, I'm not saying the airman's guilty. We still don't know any more about what really happened. Yes. And this is a very normal, this is the natural take. This does not vindicate Sig. This does not damn Sig. This is just more information that makes it more interesting. You're still holding on to that narrative? Did you even read the report? It's not long. It's like 4 sentences. But people are very happy to argue about this sort of stuff. And I mean, hey, that's why I'm here too. All right. PP Daily, XL Dude. Well. Where's the video? Yeah, everybody wants to see the video. So does this mean that there are manslaughter charges being brought against Sig? Probably not. Yeah, this many such cases. Manslaughter charges. So it wasn't the gun? Yeah, it's like manslaughter charges are not indicative of what actually happened as of yet. Yeah, Sig Sauer takes one giant sigh of relief, thinking there's light at the end of the tunnel. Again, even if they are totally vindicated in this one case, as I've said many times, it doesn't vindicate them for anything else. Siga fans jumping for joy at this somehow exonerates the P320 of its sins for being unsafe, like the hundreds of other cases now magically mean nothing. Baby, this case was simply the catalyst for the Air Force dropping the use of the gun in specific circles. The Marines, U.S. Marshals, hundreds of PDs, dozens of training groups and ranges, etc., are dropping the gun because of many other cases than an airman dying from this overpriced hunk of MIM junk. Well, that I actually have to disagree with. It's not overpriced because, I mean, listen, if you're the U.S. military and you see one quote unquote reputable major manufacturing offering you a handgun for like $200, might look mighty convincing. Possibly. This guy says there's always these silly guys. So are you gonna apologize or what? Apologize to who? Like, who am I supposed to apologize to? I think some people are just upset, and that's all right. They can be mad. That's fine. Yeah, no, ridiculous. We just talked about that earlier. The Glock COA announcements and them being done shipping to individuals, to private people. Now, this next section, because I think that wraps it up. Unless somebody has something, yeah, I fucking apologize to the $1 billion corporation. Yeah, many such cases. Actually, let me pull up that Redditard. Many such cases of the defending $1 million corporation for no apparent reason. They're just a little strange sometimes, which they're allowed to be. I mean, we all have got our little foibles or something, but this is essentially what most of these guys look like. Don't go after the multi-million-dollar company that's lost 3 lawsuits in a row about the defective design of the P320. It's been, allegedly responsible for 3, wrongful death cases. I don't know. Maybe I don't have to defend them. Yeah. And before the manslaughter was because a Singer was waving the gun around saying, see, it's perfectly safe. Yeah, no, C and Arsenal actually wants to come on more often, so I actually should get him on more often. I agree with that. I agree with your assessment. All right, Takamo for 2 says, is Aimpoint going to Glock us too with the COA? They're going to Glock block you. Yes, because you're not going to be able to get the handgun or the optic, I imagine, for some time, till next year at least. Thank you for that, Takamo. Moonman for 2 says, Chud McGill, ski mask Americans in this economy? Indeed, Mr. Moonman. Thank you very much for the 2. And Shadow 4 says, simping for the $1 billion company that hates you. Many such cases. I don't know. See, I think there is some... as much as you can say there's bandwagon haters, you have the reverse, right? The opposite and equal action of that. where there's just the defenders that do it, not even because they own P320s. They might even hate P320s, but they have this visceral reaction. It's like anytime there's like a hot new game out or something, it's like you have the one little hater squad that's just there just because people like it. And if people didn't like it, it's essentially the hipster syndrome. And because the gun industry has gotten into a lot more of a hipster zone, you could say, you see a lot more of these flaggets floating around that are just very quick to go against popular opinion only because it's popular opinion. Now, speaking of very base things, or not very base things, sorry, we of course had Mr. Guns and Gear wearing his Burger King hat after his flight got delayed, which, I mean, I understand that reasonable people may be forced to do unreasonable things given a certain set of circumstances. But what I have to show you next may get me taken down from YouTube. So I'm kind of waiting to the hour mark to see if I can actually sneak this in here a little bit, because there is some shenanigans going on here, and it is it's scary. I don't know how else to describe this. It should both terrify you and anger you to levels not before thought possible. But the reason I put Mr. Guns and Gear up there, of course, is because he posted this to his ex, and I happened to know this. And this did not make me happy. It in fact made me something else entirely. So, female, first red flag. Second red flag, Houston. You're welcome, Midspot. Cop in uniform pulls her, see, we're just red flag, red flag, red flag, service pistol, and commits strong-armed robbery on cell phone camera. She likely knows the man recording, which adds some nuance to the situation. But this is 100% a criminal act. Also, notice how she speaks and communicates. She clearly is incapable of performing the duties of a law enforcement officer and should be fired and or arrested immediately. Plan accordingly. Now, he always ends with plan accordingly. In my concept of this situation, I don't know if there's a way to not arrest the lady and try her for a variety of things. Because this is very wacky. Now I'm going to keep it small for just a minute. I might even have to turn it down a little bit, but it is yeah, you guys, you're just going to have to watch it. You're just going to have to watch it.
Play with me.
Brenda, so you don't
Play with me. Give me the motherfucking
the phone right there.
Put it in my motherfucking hand.
Yeah, man. So you gonna shoot me over there? Over your sister hitting me in my face? Fuck like me. You sorry?
Hey, wait till they lock your ass up and I told you.
I already know y'all already planned it. Y'all already set it up. I already know. That's fine, but you don't know what I can do. You don't know what I can do to your sister too.
That's a police officer, to be fair. And yes, she did in fact run up on him and put a gun in his face because this person was holding onto her phone. And is this her boyfriend or? And then saying, "I can't wait till they lock your," you know the words they use. You know what they said. But yeah, it's like I don't know.
Your sister stabbed me. I ain't put no case on her.
She should have made sure the shit stopped. Bitch.
I should have. You the bitch. I'll be a bitch. But you want to. You ain't shoot that gun. You can't be scared. You ain't shoot that gun. Yeah, you ain't shoot that gun.
Dog, you do not want her to shoot that gun, okay, bro? I mean, there's a frame of this that is just absolutely hilarious.
Play with me.
Brenda, so you don't
Play with me.
Play with me. Play with me. And remember, this is again over a cell phone or something. These two people know each other, right? There is some weird interdynamics going on here, interpersonal dynamics going on here between these two individuals, right? It's a 3-layered problem. Yes. This, as Hook rightfully points out, this is indeed white supremacy at work. This is institutionalized oppression playing out in the public eye, and this is merely a symptom of years of repression and oppression, which leads these people to act in certain ways against a system that truly treats them as second-class citizens. Yes, indeed. That's his girlfriend's sister? What? So she came up to this guy to get her sister's phone back as a police officer and pointed a gun in his face? Is that what you're alleging there, sir, Mr. G Major? I don't... Damn! 40% APR for 84 months. Yikes. Yeah, I just we'll let that play again.
Play with me.
Brenda, so you gonna
Play
shoot,
with me.
you
Give
gonna-
me the motherfucking
the phone
phone.
right there.
Put it in my motherfucking hand.
Yeah, man. So you gonna shoot me over there? Over your sister hitting me in my face? Fuck like
Okay, over your sister hitting me.
You sorry?
Hey, wait till they lock your ass up and I talk.
I ain't even know y'all already planned it. Y'all already set it up. I already know. That's fine. But you don't know what I can do. You don't know what I can do to your sister too. Your sister stabbed me. I ain't put no case on her.
Yeah, Scorpio's got a good point. Scary, she's got qualified immunity. Man, that makes me confident.
Should have made sure the shit stop. Bitch.
I should've. You the bitch. I'll be a bitch. But you want to. You ain't shoot that gun. You can't be scared. You ain't shoot that gun. Yeah, you ain't shoot that gun. You ain't shoot that gun. You ain't shoot that. Yeah, she right here. She got a gun on me. I'm just telling you that she pulled a gun on me, huh?
Wait, so he drove up after her? He followed her after she pointed a gun at his face? Man. That is that's very, as Logan Sucks at Shooting says, very mentally well-adjusted people over there. Yeah, you know what? I'm glad that I live over in South Dakota, not in Houston, as Houstonites like to tell me that that's how that's pronounced. She's still, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you would not be arrested for pulling a gun on somebody and taking an item in their possession, even if you knew that that item belonged to like your sister or something like that. I don't know how that isn't, just assault, theft, whatever it might be, as tough as this says, a vulgar display of power. Indeed. I think it's also a Pantera album, Vulgar Display of Power. Well, it looks like she is in uniform, but not in like on duty. Like she's either going to work or coming back from work, but she's still in her uniform or something like that. 'Cause she does just get back up in her BMW and drive away. And then he follows her, which is a strange move. I'm not sure if that's conducive to your long-term health. Well, let me pull up that real fast. Okay. Yeah, great album, true. She is a constable, joke of a position in Texas. Well, listen, if a constable can carry a gun and point it in somebody's face, I don't know if I want to take that joke too lightly. It looks like she's not taking anything too lightly, okay? You know what I'm saying? Timu police force. No, it's not Timu. Where's a cheap place that we get things in Africa? It's not Timu, because that would be like two Chinese officers going at it. Nigerian, but that's too obvious. It's too obvious. Reno 911 moment, true. Nick asks, hey, Focus Trip, do you get dealer prices on Roscoe barrels? Indeed, I do. Hey, Ben, how's it going, man?
going good. I was actually washing my squad car, and I saw that video, and I had to stop washing my squad car to message you.
So, what part of that video don't you like?
Where do we start?
I think this frame is pretty good. Runs up to him, screaming, gun in his face, asking for a phone.
It's
Yeah.
no matter what frame you slice it in, it's bad. It's really bad.
So, do you know the difference between a constable and a police officer? Is that a term? Because I don't know the distinction there.
There's like a legal definition of it. Where I like the state that I work in, there's like I think like 2 or 3 constable offices left, but it's usually just a police department or a sheriff's department. That the constable thing has kind of gone away.
Oh, that's funny. There's an actual definition for it in Texas specifically, and I wonder if that's because people have been searching it up.
What I noticed right away though is she is not in a squad car; she's in a personal vehicle,
Correct.
and so there's a high chance she is not on duty and taking either unofficial actions while off duty or official police actions while off duty, and it's not so there's a very high chance that she is not going to get, if this is deemed whatever it is, there's a very good chance there's no qualified immunity there.
Interesting. I mean, I would hope that she gets whatever is coming to her, quite literally. In Texas, constables and police officers are both fully empowered peace officers with overlapping law enforcement authorities. Constables, like the police officers, have the power to make arrests with or without a warrant, conduct criminal investigations, enforce traffic laws, issue citations, and use force when necessary. They are licensed, blah, blah, blah. A key distinction is that constables are elected officials who serve 4-year terms representing a specific county precinct, where police officers are typically appointed to work within city or municipal boundaries. Constables have county-wide jurisdiction, and their authority extends statewide for criminal matters, particularly when serving arrest warrants. Constables have unique civil responsibilities that most police officers do not perform. They serve as chief process service for justice of the peace courts, handling evictions, subpoena writs, and other civil court documents. So nothing at all to do with pulling a gun on somebody for having your sister's phone. They also provide bailiff services, court security, civil process fees, make them partially self-supporting. Yeah, interesting. I don't know. So, okay.
Yeah, it's basically like a sheriff's department up here. Constable, sheriff's department. The sheriff's departments around here do the exact same thing. Warrants, or not warrant service, but paper service, court security, all that jazz.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, so what's the punishment for this sort of thing? I don't know if you have anything that you can say on that, but this seems to me like you get fired on the spot, right?
Well, put on administrative leave immediately is definitely the start to that. And then obviously there's going to be an investigation and stuff like that. I mean, the fact that it's on video is going to excessively help, the guy in this case with his claim.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I mean the what do you want to call it? I mean, there's probably more to the story. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle with all of this.
Well, right, but let's say if you wanted to retrieve personal property from somebody, so let's say this guy wrongfully had that phone. That's not legal to run up to them with a gun pulled to recover somebody else's stolen or like an item that doesn't belong to them, right? Because I don't even know if stolen's the right word if he just had the girl's phone.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of agencies have, I don't know what you want to call it, policies or directives that dictates what an officer can and can't do off duty. So again, I don't know the full story here. Like, is it possible that she's rocking an undercover BMW as a squad car? Possibly. Maybe she's totally fully, on duty. But is it, are they driving to and from work? Is she off duty? Because that
Yeah.
can change a lot of what is occurring in this scenario. Because like what I'm willing, like if I'm like, I don't know, whatever, the same exact scenario. Oh, okay, this dude's got my sister's cell phone. I'm not confronting him on my way
No,
to
no.
work or in the Walmart parking lot. I'm calling the local jurisdiction and being like, hey, here's Focus. He's got my cell phone. Can you come take him?
Yeah, please do not show up to my house with a gun trying to get a cell phone back. I assure you I don't have it.
Well, and it's that balancing act of like, do I get involved versus do I not get involved? So, it's like, all right, I'm in blue jeans and a t-shirt versus full uniform, body camera, armor, all the accoutrements of, duty gear.
Well, right, but isn't there some sort of continuum of force? Like, even if I went to take, like, some idiot had an item that I wanted back, like, I would just grab it or ask for them to give it back before I go to the gun first, is what this looks
And that's where I'm curious what happened before this, because it's like, it's, the viral videos. We see the halfway through the incident, but we don't see what precluded
correct.
or
Yeah.
the startup leading to it. Is
Yeah.
it possible she tried saying, hey, you're under arrest for this possession of this stolen property, get out of the car, and the guy's like, well, go screw yourself.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, this is from his perspective, so however nicely edited it could be, it almost certainly is.
Yeah, and I'm curious, is she rocking a body cam or anything like that?
Let's see.
Give me the
The
motherfucking
phone right there.
Put it in my motherfucking hand.
Good, man.
He seems very distraught, and he's remarkably chill.
Her professional communication skills are on point.
Well, okay, so is it appropriate to call perps N-words? Is that
0 out of 10 recommend.
what? Okay, but let's say it in the reverse. Could you call like some crackhead? Could you call them crackers? Get over here, you dirty cracker!
No, no.
Give me a
0
phone,
out of 10
cracker.
recommend.
Yeah, I don't think that looks good.
No.
I mean, we could at least
I do
spend
not
a
need-
little bit, right? I mean, just a
I mean, okay,
little.
so okay, I've had one bad interaction with police officers where they did call me like a bitch or something like that, or son of a bitch, right? But that's the worst it's ever been, or that I've ever heard.
Yeah, I had a.
But it
couple
wasn't
bad
because of me.
run-ins.
It was because the guy was mad. The guy was just mad at the situation that was going on. He wasn't mad at me specifically.
And it depends a lot on the situation. You kind of have to play to your audience. Some people speak in swear words, and if you're trying to be professional and be courteous and nice to these people or a person in an incident, but they're not listening because they speak in swear words or slang. Well, sometimes you got to speak their language.
Yeah.
This might not look like one of those situations.
The phone right there.
Put it in my motherfucking hand.
Good, man.
I do like how in the background you can hear his second phone is playing a meme. You can hear that. You could say something about you can never beat a Jet 2 holiday. That meme is going on in the background.
Give me the
The
motherfucking
phone right there.
Put it in my motherfucking hand.
Good, man. So you gonna shoot me over there? Over your sister hitting me in my face? Fuck like.
Yeah, so allegedly, I don't know if him and this girl's sister, which is his girlfriend, got into some sort of physical altercation, and he stole her phone, and then the girlfriend gets her sister, to come bring it back. I don't know. So as a police officer, I'm sure that you have been asked to do things by friends or family that is not completely kosher.
No, all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, this car was driving down my road. Here's the plate. Can you run it? No, that's not proper, or
Right.
Those kinds of things. And this is, I guess, lack of a better term, an abuse of power, obviously. But like an abuse, like what it's something would call like something under the color of law, whatever their the phrase is down there. But but especially if she's doing this off duty, as a favor to get a stolen item back, and then even if whatever reason it's squad car BMW, this is a conflict of interest. I mean, Houston is not a small area, so there's got to be another police officer there that could interject themselves into this situation and be a neutral third party. It's not like she's working in a town that has 498 people, and I know everybody's first and last names and date of birth.
Well, that's the distinction between where I live and police officers here versus where you're just like talking to people, you're just having conversation, you're part of the community, versus somewhere like Houston where it's so many people, it's impossible to actually be part of like a cohesive community or to be really in tune with whoever you're pulling over on whatever specific day, right?
Yeah, you become more of a number more than like a person a person in the community, a member of the community. That's the word I'm looking for.
The Dumbledore actually says that this cop resigned after this. Well, resigned isn't enough, in my opinion. Like, okay, yeah, you lose your job, but that's step one. If you ever,
that doesn't mean she can't get charged.
Yeah, if you use your badge to justify pointing a gun in somebody else's face over something as trivial as a cell phone, regardless of how he came into possession of the cell phone, like, man, like you gotta go, homie. You gotta serve some time or something for that, man. Because I don't want non-police officers to be doing this type of thing. I certainly don't want police officers to be doing this type of thing. This has got to be stamped out.
Yeah, I just Googled it real quick and saw, it was 2 days ago she resigned after allegedly pulling a gun during family dispute.
All right. That's that's not part of the de-escalation tactics, is it? Pulling a gun in a family dispute.
Well, I guess you could consider resigning as part of de-escalation. She removed herself from the police force, which she clearly does not belong in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, family dynamics is weird too when it comes to police officers, because I've heard stories from other families that have police officers in them, and they like arresting siblings or other members of the family because somebody in the family told them something untoward. It's just like, it just gets super messy super fast.
Yeah, there's times where you can't avoid that, in small communities, and you just kind of have to be professional in those scenarios, or try and make sure you're not the primary officer. We would call it like cover, contact and cover. So, if I'm like, well, crap, I know Phil, like Phil and I are good buddies, I'll have the other guy. If I have another officer, I'll let the other officer be the contact guy that does all of the investigative asking of questions, and I just am in the background covering, making sure nothing goes south. And then that way I can remain a neutral third party in that. But that did not occur here.
Gotcha. Well,
and I don't
Richard,
whatever union they're a part of is definitely not going to. Well, they're going to fight for him. They're going to fight for the constable, but it's not going to be good.
Yeah, no, 100%. Richard, do you have anything else to add to this before we move on, good sir?
I added my input.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the last major thing that I even really wanted to talk about tonight. But there is the counter movement with this SIG thing. As somebody just sent me this. This is actually from Phil Strader 2 hours ago, which is SIG's vice president of consumer affairs. I think that's how you say that. It says, I would challenge the clubs and organizations that banned the P320 and its variants based on the false rumors that were perpetrated recklessly and reprehensibly about this tragic incident to reconsider their position. So he in this is tacitly, anyways, blaming the other airmen for the death of Mr. Levin, right? Call your clubs and orgs to ask them to reconsider the views, to consider the millions of responsible P320 owners who have shot hundreds of millions of rounds with zero incidents. Ask them to base their decisions on the facts. The most important one being that the P320 can only fire, will only fire when the trigger is being pulled, or when the trigger is pulled. And then he leaves the website p20truth.com.
Bill seems like the perfect person to be speaking on reprehensible and reckless behavior.
Yeah, well, and then the top comment, the first one is seen way too many videos of this thing firing in holsters and then when being dropped. The incident wasn't the problem with the 320; it was just another nail in the coffin. True, of a long line of nails. Given Sig's response and what's known about the military procurement industry, I'd even question this outcome. I'm saying this as a general supporter of Sig. Yeah, I don't think this is the win that Sig owners think it is. And again, it's not a win or a loss either way, right? But this is also from, again, a higher up at Sig. So I I don't know how unbiased you can be at that point. All right. Ridiculous for 5 says, what's the bestest, most future-proof dot footprint? RMR. Do you think the acro footprint is still relevant enough, even though the acro itself is kind of doo-doo? Well, the acro footprint is good because a lot of other footprints use the acro footprint. A lot of other dots use the acro footprint.
It was a big reason why we went with the acro, was the footprint and the durability of it.
Yeah, and I think for duty use, like I think people switching to enclosed optics is not a bad idea at all. For like gamer guys or normal people, you're obviously still going to be using RMR or even Delta Point Pro because it allows you to use the biggest window possible.
Also,
Right.
Glock offers it to LE agencies directly cut into the slide, so we can skip the whole plate debacle.
Mm-hmm. That too. So, I mean, it does depend, though, on your use. Yeah, so from a military police side, probably the acro cut. Probably. But for me, it's RMR.
I did see that they are stopping the civilian shipments of the COA cut.
Yeah, we talked about that. We had a whole section on that, Richard, while you were gone.
Well, I've been busy. I
know, you're fine. You're fine. But yeah, no, they are the COA, no more for the civilian side. Ben, you said you guys tried the COA out. You T&E'd them. Didn't love them too much. Any reason in particular?
When I left my prior agency, we had 45s with acros, and this was right around the time when COA was just hitting the market, and they were like, "Oh, bleeding edge, new stuff." And then when I transitioned to my current role, they were trying to push the COA on me, and I was like, "Well, I'm not a huge fan of 2 screws mounted to the rear of the slide and an optic that's like wedged into a slide, preventing it from flying back into my face. Basically an unproven system that I'm going to T&E." Versus, okay, acro's proven, acro's durable. It's a market staple of durability.
Well, I mean, the P2, the P1 kind of had issues right out the gate.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I've seen the same issues with P2.
No, I've had 2 or 3 guns now that are all cut for P2s with P2s, and they've been great optics. But that's my that's my sample size of 3 out of what, a couple million, you know?
Well, yeah, however many they've put together so far. Moonman for 5 says corporation enjoyers who worship at the altar of a billion-dollar company will, of course, be put on the list. Well, the internet is forever, man, and that goes both ways. Moonman for another 5 says Mr. Guns and Gear is just like me. He just wants some water on his flight. Mr. Guns and Gear is a bit of a memer himself, so I appreciate that nature of his. Tuss the Third for 2 says 40% combined APR on both they cars. Yeah, many such cases. Thank you for that, Mr. Tusk. Moonman for 5 says, so glad my black coworkers announced themselves with yes masses and Uncle Ruckus impersonation so that I know that I'm safe. Moonman, I don't know. Is that appropriate in a federal building, sir?
It is when they have a pass.
I'm gonna file a report on your department there, sir. Thank you, Mr. Moonman. Chud McGill for 2 says average Section 8 experience. Well, you say that. So I was an Amazon delivery driver for a little while, right? And whenever I was actually in Sioux Falls, I would have to go and deliver to a lot of Section 8 places. And man, I was the sketchiest part of my job. I was like, I don't like this one bit. There's some strange areas down here. And then most of the city is like beautiful and clean and normal. And then just every now and again, you get to the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah, when I first moved down to Florida, I worked for one of the meat van places where they just drive around with a freezer in the back of a van and sell meat. The only people who were buying it were in Section 8 housing with food stamps. The only reason why we sold anything was because we took food stamps. And they would often buy us out, but man, it was sketchy. It was super sketchy. We had a gun pulled on us one time because they thought that we were somebody else. Mistaken identity, I guess. I don't know. I didn't stick around to ask questions. They just, pull guns. They're like, "What the fuck are you doing back here?" I said, "We're selling meat. You want some?" And then they put the guns away and they bought some steaks and hamburgers and then we left. But on another note, not to derail, did you see that food stamps are getting adjusted? So no longer can you buy candies and chips and things like that with food stamps.
I am 100 in support of that.
Yeah, it needs to be it needed to be retroactively enforced.
Dated a girl and go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's the dumbest thing ever that people can go in and buy just pure sugar and chocolate with food stamps. And it's supposed to be, healthy. No. And you can't buy an actual hot breakfast sandwich. Like I wouldn't be able to buy an egg and cheese bagel because it was hot. It's, I don't know. Rant over. Sorry. I've seen that.
No, but that's a good thing. I mean, EBT abuse is one of those things. I'd have to actually. Do you have a link to it? If you want to find me a link, I'd actually go over that.
Yeah,
so I'd be interested to see what the changes are.
Yeah.
Moonman says, "Kick Sands out. I didn't make a PFP for him." Well, we're not switching to your PFPs yet, Mr. Moonman. I'm not going to kick Sands. I mean, Ben's as all people who are watching the stream. You should be at work right now. Thank you for that, Mr. Moonman. Chad McGill for 2 says we shouldn't have to live like this. TND, which I forget what that stands for, but thank you, Chud. Stealth for 10 says been packing to move, and me and my dad got stuck in a muddy landfill this morning when our key fob stopped working. Ouch, bro, that's awful. A muddy landfill. Thank you for the entertainment you provide. Never buy an Infinity. Well, thank you very much for that, Stealth, but I really think you should save that for yourself so that you don't have to buy an Infinity. But I was never planning on buying an Infinity. I don't think I've ever driven an Infinity. Yeah. Sorry to hear that, man. I hope you get out eventually and you're not just stuck listening to me for all of eternity. Thank you for that, Stealth. General Secretary Xi Jinping and the DRPK banned for $5 says Texas goes blue in the next 8 years because Texans are smooth-brained and invited California in. I mean, there are some... they're trying to make it to where the gerrymandering or the adjusted districts, they're wild, but very effective. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you for that, Mr. 5. Or Mr. General Secretary Xi Jinping and the DRPK band or DPRK band. Thank you for that. Let's see. Richard pulled that up for me so I can steal that. All right. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Kennedy celebrates more states removing junk food from SNAP at Maha Monday on the National Mall. For years, SNAP has used taxpayer dollars to fund soda and candy, true, products that fuel Americans' disabilities, and chronic disease epidemics. These waivers help put real food back at the center of the program and empower states to lead the charge in protecting public health. I thank these governors who have stepped up to request waivers, and I encourage others to follow their lead. This is how we make America healthy again. Can I see exactly what I want to see what they removed though. Can I see what the actual updated restrictions are? That's what I want to see.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll see what I can find for you.
Okay. Moonman for 10 says Texas has always been the weakest link along with Florida and in my beloved Dixie. We no longer claim them, not like they helped us win the war of northern aggression anyway. Yeah, you know, I don't really think they were around at that point. Or no, they were around at that point, but yeah. Unbelievable. Total failure all the way around. Thank you, Moonman, for the 10. Moonman for 2 says preemptive ignore chud. Richard, go. I think he wants the Tito. Thank you, Mr. Moonman. Tuss the Third says her BMW smells like I'm gonna guess cigarettes and some excessive cheap perfume. That would be my guess.
No,
Or
it's
Cheetos or some fast food. I don't know.
The black ice car freshener
Uh-huh.
and Black and Milds. That's what her car
Yeah.
smells like.
Very possible.
And no, I didn't say her car smells like black guys. I said black ice.
Black ice. Ugh. Thank you, Tess the Third. Takamo for 2 says Moon listens to good old Rebel unironically feels. Yeah, unironic. Why would it even be ironic? Ezekiel Herrera for $10 says Harris County, Texas, KTRK, a Harris County Precinct 1 deputy constable has been reassigned while an internal investigation is underway following an explosive encounter caught on camera. Well, that is a very professional way of saying that there was a Napa event in a parking lot. Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Moonman for 5 says Takama 21, the golden circle will be made real, and every year it clearly needs to be bigger. I will Minecraft millions to make it happen. Thank you for that, Mr. Moonman. Moonman for $2 says Richard is our meat wagon man. Ouch. Richard, how do you feel about being the communal meat wagon?
I deliver.
David Pretend says Gun University posted a video showing the 320 going off with 0 trigger pull. Phil even called him with the fix. Apparently, if you don't use the slide lock during reassembly, gun go bang, #no trigger. Well, again, Phil was just he was just incorrect explicitly when he said that you have to depress the striker or the sear, to get the trigger to move. It doesn't have to happen depending on how you reassemble the gun, which is again a problem with the 320 design because you have to reassemble it specifically rather than every other striker fired gun on the market to get the system to work properly because of the way it's designed. So again, another notch against the SIGA. Thank you for that, Mr. David. And Lambo for $5 says got boned over $200 for a pin and weld at my local gun shop, or should I say fud shop. Remember to shop local so you too can get boned by a-holes. Man, I'm sorry to hear that, dude. $200 for a pin and weld. I mean, I charge $50 for my pin and weld. So, I mean, if you don't want to do that, I can do it for cheaper. But I am very sorry to hear that, man. $200 is way too much money for that. Way, way, way too much money for that. Thank you, Lama, for the 5. I'm sorry to hear that.
It kind of defeats the purpose of doing a pin and weld if you're paying $200 for it, does it not?
Well,
Like,
I mean, yeah, buy a different barrel or whatever else, or yeah, or file a tax stamp. Piana 320 for 2 on Rumble says a tiny hat got hired at work and started yesterday with a P320 X5 and a Serpa.
Ooh.
All right. Called him out, so he brought an M&P today, waiting for him to show me this article just to justify his own stupidity. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. All right, let me see here. Is this the one that we were looking for?
Yeah, it's got the itemized list as to which states are banning what.
No, is it South Dakota? Oh, darn it. South Dakota's not on it yet.
There's the list right there: Arizona, Arkansas.
Okay, here we go.
Idaho.
Hey, you want to read them out for me real fast while I get a drink?
Yeah, sure. Arizona bill is being considered to stop purchases of soda products containing natural or artificial sweeteners. It passed the House of Representatives in February. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders said in a letter to Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that she intends to pursue a SNAP waiver from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Services that would support fresh fruits, vegetables, eggs, and protein and prohibit using SNAP for junk food. That's a good one. Idaho, bill being considered to request federal approval to exclude candy and soda from the list of foods eligible. Iowa, bill proposed that SNAP benefits can only be used for purchasing real eggs, meat, dairy, bread, and grains, as well as all fruits and vegetables. Unfortunately, all cereals are also included in that, which they're just basically pure sugar at this point. Also includes nuts, pastas, rice, and legumes. It advanced by an Iowa House subcommittee in late February. Missouri, a bill introduced in the House to propose a ban for candy and soft drinks. Basically the same thing for Montana. Tennessee, very, very much the same. Texas. Theirs is targeting
That's
any
interesting.
carbonated beverages that contain more than 1 gram of added sugar. Utah, another bill proposed banning canning and soda, basically the same thing as the other ones. And West Virginia is basically the exact same thing, just to ban candy and soft drinks from being bought. I think that they should go a little bit farther and also include things like chips, because I believe that chips will still be able to be purchased because they are technically a grain.
I am one of the saddest things to see is a young family of individuals where the parent, or sometimes parents, but mostly parent, is buying like 24 packs of like full calorie sodas for her young children.
Yeah.
And it's like that's just setting such a horrible precedent. You're just pumping them full of thousands and thousands and thousands of extra calories per year that do just nothing. Nothing. The most worthless calories you will ever consume. And then they're used to it. That's how they live their life. That's how they pass it on to their kids should they ever procreate.
I would argue
It's
they're
terrible.
worse than nothing, because it's
Oh, of course. Yes.
Extremely negative impacts, right? Like I was one of those kids. My parents had soda in the house all the time, and it took me years to get off of it. And now I drink, I'll have like 1 soda a day. I'll either have a Coca-Cola or a ginger ale, and I drink a lot of sweet tea and vitamin water. I get a lot of my hydration from vitamin water. I don't care for Gatorade. It's like pure salt. I might as well have a salt lick.
That's what it's there for, sir. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you can get your electrolytes from other ways other than just a straight salt lick in a bottle form. Yeah, Body Armor is actually a good one because it has roughly the same nutrition as Gatorade without the added harmful dyes, all of the artificial dyes and sweeteners and stuff. It uses real coconut water, real sugar, no artificial dyes or sweeteners. So that's a good one.
A lot of the schools where I'm based, I think it was state or federal funding, cut out soda in the schools. So all they have in schools now is like the coconut water or the Body Armor, like actual healthy stuff. So that's nice.
Yeah, I think that it'd be a great thing to see more states jumping on board with this. I think 10 states is a good start.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it should just be nationwide. I don't know why they can't. If it's a federal program, why can't they just federally mandate you to remove? So, like, what's the argument? No, EBT must have or must have soda and candy on it. What's the positive case for that?
So each state runs their own individual programs, right? I think Florida, California, and New York were like the top three. At least that was back when I was checking the numbers for it before, back in 2018 and 2019. I think those were the top three. But I have yet to hear anybody put forth a good argument as to why they were even put on there in the first place, aside from the fact that, well, they need access to things in areas where they don't have grocery stores, right? In areas where the only thing that they have access to is the corner store that has the Funyuns and hot Cheetos, which I don't care for it.
Mm-hmm. The chat is judging you very harshly right now.
Yeah. I'm sure they are absolutely shocked.
Oh, come on. Mini Racer says, forbid some poor kid gets candy once in a while like every other kid. No.
That's
it's
what
not.
Halloween's for, sir.
Bro, it's like as if candy should be a regular part of any child's diet.
Go to a parade, you lazy bums.
And it's like, well, listen, also, if they're on EBT perpetually, like that's a problem in and of itself, too. You know?
There was.
I dated a girl in Texas when I was down there, and like well, it wasn't mom, it was adoptive mom, would continually adopt kids to get more and more and more state and federal funding of EBT, and then just like you guys are saying, they would just buy just bullshit. And it's like, you ever heard of carrots and potatoes? You know, those are pretty neat.
That's the thing too. It's not every now and again. These people do it every single time. And it's like if they have $500 of EBT, $250 of it is on junk, if not more.
Yeah, it's sad.
I tried to explain to them, like, do you know how far like a bag of potatoes, like good pure hamburger and like rice will last you guys? And they didn't want to hear any of that.
Yeah, I mean, people said, "Oh, it's too expensive to eat clean or whatnot."
No,
like I eat chicken and rice or chicken and spaghetti like every single day, and then once a week we have something like steak or something, right? And it's dirt cheap for a family of 5. My wife, 3 children. Rice and chicken per day is $6.50, $7. Pretty damn cheap. Versus you can't buy a McDonald's meal for $7.
Oh no. And then especially if you got cool neighbors who you horse trade or barter with, you know, aka you want 1,000 rounds of 5.56 that I reloaded? Here you go. Cool. We now have eggs for the rest of the year.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. My brother did a bunch of housework, helping my sister and her family move into their new house after their old house burned down. Long story. Anyways, he got free eggs for a year for doing some contracting work, basically. So yeah. But I mean, I think that's probably beyond these people's capabilities. If I had to be real.
Well, the predominant majority of people who are on SNAP and EBT are going to be individuals who, what's the eloquent way to put this? They're impulsive.
Really?
Yeah. So they're not going to put in the work to do the thing, right? They want the immediate gratification in the moment. And that's why they'll run in and grab a candy bar and a Coca-Cola and then turn around and complain about food prices.
I choose not to look at Asmongold ever if I can help it. Moonman for 5. Excuse me. It says reading all these opinion piece headlines should be a reminder that you don't hate journos enough. What? You don't like the headlines that they're pulling out? I think they're very reasonable. I mean, look at them. Perfect. Thank you for the 5, Moon Man. Stealth for 2 says sport drink is my electrolyte powder of choice. Yeah, powders are cheap too. If you want a cheap way to have like my pre-workout that I take, way cheaper than an energy drink. Way cheaper. Powders are a good way to go too if you want to save money. Moonman for 5 says going to force young inner city youths to drink nothing but Brondo. It's what you Nappas crave. Brondo, is it? Yeah, that's from Idiocracy. It's like Gatorade basically, but it's all they drink.
And it sponsors everything.
A food pyramid, just Brondo. That's funny. Nice. All right, but I think that's everything that we got for tonight, ladies and gents. Unless either of you two fine gentlemen have anything that you want to bring up before we hop on out of here.
Well, the only thing that I want to cover will have to be covered on a different stream because we have put it off for a couple times now, and I think it's time that we revisit the Iraq Veteran 8888 saga. And go back through his I found his IMDb credits.
Oh, okay, that could be fun.
Yes, sir.
Fun. Is that going to be a Rumble exclusive, or can we do those on YouTube, you think?
I think we can do those on YouTube because a lot of the content that is in those is actually on YouTube. Believe it or not, his channel is the one that has less subscribers. He is a member of another channel that I think it was called American Heritage, has like 190 million subscribers, and he was creating content for them.
Ah, neat. Well, I think that will be a fun excursion. Well, Ben, are you still at work? Or are you off work just chilling?
I'm here till either 10 or 11 tonight. Depends on how much shenanigans I get involved in.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully it's a relatively chill night for you, sir.
Oh,
thanks for hopping on. I appreciate it. Adding some context to our.
You said one of the big no-no words. You said the chill word. You don't use the quiet word or the slow word.
Right.
So now I'm screwed.
Yeah, something's in to kick off. Well, that's what I thought happened when you dropped from the call for a second. I thought, like, oh, he's got something to do. So I hope he's doing well.
Local just pulled up and wanted to say hello.
Oh, gotcha. Nice. That's a good interaction to have. Did you pull a gun on him?
No, I waved.
Did he have a cell phone? So you didn't take his cell phone.
I'm recording you.
Ben, did you ever tell Focus that our sound bites might have made it onto an official police radio band wave?
Oh no, no, that's right, because the stream ended.
Yeah, he dipped out. So
okay, so I'll tell this story really quick. So hypothetically, allegedly, possibly, the is it vintage?
Yes.
Have you ever been feasted by an African king? It'll be me.
God damn it.
That possibly might have been transmitted over a radio call once.
That's funny.
So before I was involved with like the live streams, I just put you hit play and put you off to the side and put you on Bluetooth in the car and just listen. And they called my number one day, and you guys had just been talking about, I can't remember, something so totally random. And so I didn't think anything about it and just keyed up the mic and called my number. And as soon as I got done talking, you played the Vintage Warfare thing, and it was loud. It like my car stereo was turned up. So it's like, oh, that totally got transmitted on the radio.
Yeah, that's that. It's just a mild oopsie, as long as it wasn't like some slur or explicative, just an African king saying his thing.
I laughed so hard. I was laughing hysterically because then I remembered that some of these transcripts end up getting put into print. So
right.
I was laughing at the fact that somewhere in the ethos, there is a printed transcript of vintage saying, "Have you ever been fisted by an African king?"
Yeah.
Well, so
Luckily, it wasn't live. I was watching like a rerun or like post, catching up or something like that. So it was like 2:00 in the morning or something like that. So hopefully the people in Scannerland were not aware of the excellent YouTubing known as Vintage Warfare.
Well, so I've always thought about that too. Is someday if I have to go into court for something about something that was said on a live stream, like whether it's Sig or some other company, and they're just playing back the transcript, and they're like, "So what did you mean when you said dirty Sigger?" And I'm like, you see, Your Honor, this is a contextual joke based upon American linguistics. Okay, I don't know how good of a defense that's going to be.
Your
You
Honor,
should
I
just
didn't come
hold
up with the phrase the internet did.
You just say, "Your Honor, hold on."
What's
It was
up,
funny.
my Siggers?
Yeah. Have you heard of this thing called jokes, Your Honor? I do make them occasionally. All right, gentlemen. But I think that's all that we got for tonight. I'll probably have a video out tomorrow or the day after on the fall of the gun industry or its continued decline as sales continue to drop and companies drop and what they need to do to fix their crap so that they don't all go the way of the dodo board. So we will have more stuff coming shortly. But before we get out of here, Moonman from 5 says, "Do it on YouTube. I don't want to go to another website. The minor inconvenience will harm me personally." Well, listen, Moonman, I will risk it for you personally, as we have Sig's greatest defender and we have Focus Trip's greatest supporter, and that is Moonman. So, I mean, stream gets taken down, so be it. Although, I should have mentioned this earlier. You guys remember that the fat retard, YZY Prince, the one who false copyright struck my channel?
Yeah.
Well, I won the case because he didn't file anything within the allotted time period that he had. So maybe it would be fun. Well, right, but maybe it would be fun to just go ahead and file my own litigation for, emotional damages, for torturous interference, for a variety of crimes that he committed by issuing a false copyright strike. I think that would be quite interesting to do. Yeah, Fatard, you got to be more specific when you say fat retard. Way too many of them out there. And then last one for tonight, a Drain Pipe 67 for $10 says, "Just a thanks for the content that gets me through my workday." Hey, awesome. Hey, well, thank you very much for the $10. And thank you for listening to us at work, man. I hope everybody that's listening to this is goofing off at work, because my favorite thing to do on the job when I was working, whether it was a department store or as an Amazon delivery driver or as a salesman out and about, was to listen to other retards doing things that I at the time was not able to do because I was stuck in a 9-to-5 grind. So I both admire you and thank you for your work and your patronage. And with that, gentlemen, I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will see you in the next one. God bless.
As I sailed, and most of them I've slain as I sailed.